Welcome back to Learn English Podcast 360. Hello, my friends. I am very happy that you are here with me today. No matter where you are right now, whether you are at home, on a bus, driving to work, or simply taking a short break, I hope you can relax and enjoy this time. Today we are going to listen to a story that may feel very familiar to many people. Let me ask you a simple question. Have you ever wondered why some people consistently succeed while others remain stagnant? Think about it for a moment. Every day, we see people who seem to keep moving forward. They learn new things. They find new opportunities. They become better at their jobs. They grow in their careers and in their lives. At the same time, there are many other people who work just as hard. They wake up early, they do their best, they stay busy all day. But somehow they feel like they are standing in the same place year after year. Why does this happen? What is the difference? Is it talent? Is it luck? Is it intelligence? Or is it something much simpler? Today we will follow the story of an ordinary man. He is just a person trying to build a better life. For many years he believed that learning ended when school ended. He thought that once he got a job, there was no need to keep learning new things. But one day, he discovered a simple truth, a truth that changed the way he thought about work, success, and life itself. And that truth changed everything. So now, let's begin his story. His name is Michael. Michael is 32 years old. He works in a technology company. He has worked there for many years. He is honest, responsible, and hardworking. His manager likes him. His co-workers respect him. On the outside, everything looks fine. Every morning, Michael wakes up at the same time. He gets ready for work, drives to the office, sits at his desk, answers emails, finishes his tasks, attends meetings, and then goes home. After dinner, he usually sits on the couch. Sometimes he watches television. Sometimes he scrolls through his phone. Sometimes he watches videos online until it is time to sleep. Then the next day begins again, and again, and again. His life feels safe. It feels comfortable, but it does not feel exciting. Deep inside, Michael wants more. He wants to grow. He wants to become more successful. He wants to earn more money. He wants people to notice his work. But year after year, nothing really changes. One evening, while driving home from work, he asked himself a question. Why am I still in the same place? He had no answer. The truth was that Michael believed something that many people believe. He believed that learning was only for students. When he finished school and got a job, he thought his learning journey was over. He often said to himself, I already finished school. I already have a job. Why do I need to keep studying? At the time, this idea seemed reasonable, but slowly that idea started creating problems. At first, the changes were small. Then they became bigger. The company where Michael worked began to change. New technology appeared. New software arrived. New systems were introduced. The company wanted employees to learn new skills. Many younger workers were excited. They signed up for training programs. They watched tutorials. They learned new tools. They adapted quickly. Michael watched all of this happen around him. At first, he was not worried. He thought, I already know how to do my job. But after some time, he started noticing something. The younger employees were becoming faster. They were solving problems more easily. They were getting noticed by managers, and they were receiving new opportunities. Meanwhile, Michael continued doing things the same way he always had. One day his team started using a new software program. Many of his coworkers learned it quickly. Michael struggled. Simple tasks suddenly took longer. He often needed help. Sometimes he felt embarrassed to ask questions, so he stayed quiet. A few weeks later, an important project became available. The company needed people with certain skills. Michael wanted to join. It looked exciting. It looked like a chance to grow. But when the team was selected, his name was not on the list. Instead, several younger employees were chosen. Michael tried not to think about it, but it hurt. Then something else happened. One of his coworkers received a promotion. A few months later, another coworker was chosen for a special leadership project. Again, Michael was not selected. That night, he sat in his car after work. He looked through the window at the office building. People were leaving for the day. Some looked happy. Some looked excited about their future. Michael felt a heavy feeling in his chest. A question entered his mind. Why not me? He worked hard. He arrived on time. He completed his tasks. He did everything he was supposed to do. So why was everyone else moving forward while he stayed in the same place? The question stayed with him for many days, and then came a day he would never forget. It started with an important meeting. Several managers were present. Team members were invited to share ideas about a new project. Michael finally had a chance to speak. He felt excited. This was his opportunity. But there was a problem. He had not prepared well. He did not fully understand some of the new tools being discussed. He had not learned about several recent changes in the company. When the meeting began, he tried to explain his idea. At first, everything seemed okay. But then one manager asked a simple question. Michael could not answer. Another question came. Again he struggled, then another and another. The room became quiet. Michael felt his face become warm. His confidence disappeared. He wished the meeting would end. When it finally did, he walked back to his desk feeling disappointed. No one said anything bad to him. No one laughed. But deep inside, he knew what had happened. He had not been ready. That evening, he went home feeling exhausted. After dinner, he sat alone in his living room. The television was off. His phone was on the table. The room was quiet. For a long time, he simply sat there thinking. I work hard every day. Why am I still falling behind? What am I missing? For the first time, he stopped blaming luck. He stopped blaming the company. He stopped blaming other people. And he started looking honestly at himself. That night became the lowest point in his journey. But sometimes the lowest point is where the biggest change begins. A few days later, something happened that would completely change Michael's life. At work, he had a conversation with an older manager. This manager was respected by everyone in the company. He was successful, experienced, and known for helping younger employees grow. During their conversation, the manager looked at Michael and asked a simple question. When was the last time you learned something new? Michael opened his mouth to answer, but no words came out. He honestly could not remember. The manager smiled kindly and said something Michael would never forget. The most successful people never stop learning. Those words stayed in Michael's mind. The manager continued, they learn when they are young. They learn when they are successful. They learn even after many years of experience. Learning never ends. At the moment, something suddenly became clear. The problem was not his age. The problem was not his company. The problem was not bad luck. The real problem was much simpler. Michael had stopped learning. For the next few days, Michael could not stop thinking about those words. The most successful people never stop learning. The sentence sounded simple, but the more he thought about it, the more powerful it became. Finally, he made a decision. He would start learning again, not for school, not for a test, not because someone forced him. He would learn because he wanted to grow. At first, Michael did not try to learn everything at once. He knew that would be too difficult. Instead, he chose one small skill that could help him at work, just one. Every day he spent 15 minutes learning, only 15 minutes. Sometimes he watched short training videos. Sometimes he read simple articles. Sometimes he practiced using new software tools that his company had introduced. At first, progress felt slow, very slow. There were days when he felt tired after work. There were days when he wanted to stop. But he remembered something important. Small steps are still steps. So he continued. Day after day, week after week. And then something interesting happened. The things that once seemed difficult started becoming easier. Tasks that used to take an hour now took 30 minutes. Problems that once confused him now made sense. When coworkers talked about new tools, he could follow the conversation. And for the first time in a long time, he felt more confident during meetings. The change was not dramatic. It did not happen overnight, but it was real. Michael learned an important lesson. A small skill can create a very big difference. Many people believe success comes from one huge change, but often, success begins with one small improvement, one skill, one habit, one lesson, repeated again and again. As Michael continued learning, he discovered another important lesson, a lesson about mistakes. For many years, Michael had been afraid of making mistakes. Every time he made one, he felt embarrassed. He worried about what other people would think. Sometimes he spent more time hiding mistakes than fixing them. But now his thinking began to change. One afternoon, he made an error while preparing information for his team. When he discovered the mistake, his first feeling was frustration. But then he stopped, he took a deep breath, and he asked himself a new question. What can I learn from this? The question changed everything. Instead of feeling sorry for himself, he looked carefully at what happened. Why did the mistake happen? What could he do differently next time? What lesson was hidden inside this experience? He started keeping a small notebook. Whenever he made a mistake, he wrote down what happened and what he learned from it. Over time, the notebook became one of his most valuable tools. Something surprising began to happen. Mistakes stopped feeling like enemies. They became teachers. Each mistake showed him something new. Each mistake helped him improve. Each mistake helped him become stronger. Michael realized that successful people are not successful because they never fail. They are successful because they learn from failure. And the faster they learn, the faster they grow. As the months passed, Michael discovered another powerful source of learning: people. For many years, he thought learning came mainly from books, courses, or training programs. Now he understood that learning was everywhere. Every person knew something he did not know. Every person had experiences he had never had. Every person could teach him something valuable. So Michael started listening more. In meetings, he paid close attention to what others said. Instead of waiting for his turn to speak, he focused on understanding. He observed how experienced coworkers solved problems. He watched how good managers communicated with people. He noticed how successful team members organized their work. And something else changed. Michael started asking more questions, simple questions, honest questions, questions that helped him learn. At first, he worried that people might think he was not smart. But the opposite happened. People respected his curiosity. People enjoyed helping him. People appreciated his willingness to learn. He learned from his manager. He learned from coworkers. He learned from friends. He even learned from customers. Each conversation became an opportunity. Each interaction became a lesson. And gradually, Michael discovered a truth that many people never fully understand. Success is not only about what you know, it is also about what you are willing to learn from others. The world is full of teachers. You simply have to be willing to listen. By now, learning had become a natural part of Michael's life. But he wanted to make sure he continued growing. So he created several simple daily habits. Nothing complicated, nothing extreme, just small actions that he could repeat every day. Each morning he read a few pages from a book. During his drive to work, he listened to podcasts. Every week he tried to learn one new idea. Whenever he discovered something useful, he wrote it down. At first, these habits seemed very small, almost too small. But Michael remembered something he had learned. Big change often begins with small actions. One page becomes a book. One lesson becomes knowledge. One day becomes a year. And one small habit becomes a different life. Month after month, the results continued to grow. Michael felt more informed, more capable, more confident, more prepared for new challenges. And most importantly, he no longer felt stuck. He felt like he was moving forward again. Then one day an opportunity arrived. A major new project was announced at the company. It was exactly the kind of opportunity Michael had wanted for years. The old Michael would have felt nervous. The old Michael might have stayed quiet. The old Michael might have doubted himself. But this time was different. This time, he was ready. When the project team met, Michael shared his ideas confidently. He explained his thoughts clearly. He answered questions calmly. He listened carefully and responded thoughtfully. People noticed. His coworkers noticed. His manager noticed. Everyone could see the difference. This was no longer the same man who had struggled during that difficult meeting months earlier. This was someone who had grown, someone who had learned, someone who had changed. A few days later, Michael received wonderful news. He was selected for the project. The opportunity he had wanted for so long was finally his. When he heard the news, he smiled, not because he had become perfect, not because he suddenly knew everything, but because he knew how far he had come. He had become better than he was yesterday, and that was enough. At that moment, Michael understood something deeply. Learning changed everything. It changed the way he worked. It changed the way he thought. It changed the way he saw himself. And it changed the direction of his future. Now let's leave Michael's story for a moment and talk about you. Because this story is not only about Michael, it is about anyone who has ever felt stuck. Anyone who has ever felt left behind. Anyone who has ever wondered if things could get better. The truth is simple. Anyone can learn. Anyone can grow. And it is never too late to begin. Many people think successful people are simply smarter, but that is not always true. Very often, successful people just keep learning. They stay curious. They stay open. They keep improving little by little. Every book teaches something. Every lesson teaches something. Every mistake teaches something. Every experience teaches something. And together, those small lessons create a better future. So if you remember only one thing from today's story, let it be this: your English, your career, your confidence, and your future can all change if you keep learning, one small step at a time. You do not need to learn everything today. You do not need to become perfect tomorrow. You only need to keep moving forward, one page, one lesson, one skill, one day at a time. Because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. And the moment you start learning again, a new chapter of your life begins. Keep learning, keep growing, keep believing in yourself. Your future may be closer than you think.